How much lag is there on?
Ooh, I think I've got it set up. Perhaps.
So
Okay.
feel free to like kind of
I think
ask me questions and interview me a bit.
perfect. I think we might be going. Jody is in the chat already, and if the audio sounds good on both ends, me and Eric Jody, let me know because I'm a little sick and I don't have much patience for anything today. But anyways, it is June, week 1 of Office Hours with Amber. Welcome to Office Hours with Amber. I'm Amber, and this is Office Hours. I'm joined by Eric Ohm today, and he's got a lot of
We
exciting
are
things.
going.
Oh, is it? Or do we have
We are live.
liftoff? Okay, fantastic. I haven't checked anything because I've just accepted either it's working or it's not. We're gonna have a good conversation either way. So like whether the internet gets to see it, that's between them and God. So today I'm excited to talk with Eric about OA Robot, which is his sounds good. Eric is about echoey but not terrible. Oh, it might be a me issue. We'll figure that out.
How about now? Am I still echoey?
Yeah, Jody, let us know. What I'm imagining is that my audio is picking up not only your audio but the desktop audio. But we'll find out. We'll come through. Anyways, and so Eric has been working on OA Robot for what feels like 1 gazillion years now, which is add into Excel that helps with micro automations. And you're going to do such a more meticulous and beautiful job painting the full picture because every time I think I have my arms wrapped around entirely what it does, you show me 6 new things. And so I'm going to let you kind of steal the floor to kind of give us the overarching pitch of what's OA Robot. What is it looking to achieve? What are we on? What's the plan for today?
All right. Well, before we talk about OA Robot at all, we have to talk about micro automations. It's like my favorite word. Um, you've heard it a lot, but now it's kind of like real because OA Robot is here. Um, I going back to how all this started is I had this epiphany about what makes Excel great, and I did a presentation for Celia's Toronto meetup about this, and basically what I came to the conclusion of was that Microsoft Excel is, of course, we all know, like the greatest application on planet Earth. But the question was, why is it so great? Like, what makes it so special? There's all kinds of applications out there. What's so special about Microsoft Excel? And the the best way that I could explain it is that Microsoft Excel is this collection of all these little different things that you can use in different combinations. There's functions and there's macros and there's features in the menu system and there's different kind of programming languages in there like M code and DAX, and all of those have their own functions. It's pretty much like this never-ending supply of things that you can do, and I call those micro automations. So once I realized that that was the secret ingredient to what makes Excel so great, is being able to use this vast collection of micro automations in any possible different combination, then it became very obvious that all these little macros that I was writing for my work and little things that I was doing, um, were basically uh, perfect candidates to be used in a more streamlined way. So OA Robot, I call it a micro automation launcher. And it's basically with very few keystrokes, you can trigger things to happen. And the things are micro automations. And there's a long list of what we consider to be micro automations. So let me pause there and see if you have any questions on the micro automation concept.
The funny thing is, like, that's like the most eloquently you've put that over the many, many times you've said it. And like, obviously, over time. Oh, Banjo, are we excited about micro automations? Okay. Yeah, we're very excited over here. Um, oh, God. I'm going to check the audio just real quick to make sure that this is usable for you afterward, like, well, usable for both of us afterwards. But going back to like December when I heard the first inklings of OA Robot at your table at the booth you had at the conference to how eloquently you just said it now is like not night and day, but like maybe it takes 6 times hearing it to really fully functionally understand it. And I think especially after our Lambda conversation of saying inputs, magic, outputs is like similarly OA Robot is like inputs, magic, outputs, but now it's like in a menu format that's really easy to use at any time. I'm gonna
Yeah.
check the audio just real. There is a there is a reverb, which is so weird. Oh, you know what? I had to go ahead and say something else.
Something else.
Perfect. Okay, I have fixed the echo problem, so
Okay.
I didn't realize that was coming through both times. Fantastic.
All right. Well,
Okay. Okay.
hopefully my spiel on micro automations will still be
No,
understood by
it's
people.
still super understandable. It just there was like the shortest of echoes, but cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So a lot of what you just said was talking about in your day-to-day work that this is kind of where this spawned. So I apologize for not giving you more of an intro, but backpedal. Give us the rundown of your like life
Yeah.
so far professionally and like what got you into what you do.
Well, it's been a bit of a long start to get to be a public public appearances. But I've been working in Excel for 30 years, and I started as an actuary. Really hated being an actuary, and loved Excel, and very much pivoted towards building a career around Excel rather than doing actuarial work. I'm a little bit dyslexic, and just the actuarial work was just all numbers. And the only way I could stand to do it was write formulas and write macros. And it just happened to be right when VBA first came out. And I loved doing that. So I pivoted and started a whole career just in doing Excel automation. Did that for other companies for a while, and then 20 years ago, I started my own company, Ohm Automation, doing Excel automation for the hedge fund industry. A little broader than hedge fund. It's like all alternative investment, private equity, like all of that type of companies, which are basically, run on Excel. So I have a team of people who work for me, and our main part of our business is consulting, doing work for really any kind of client that needs Excel automation, but most of our clients have tend to be in that financial industry. So
Interesting.
now rewind like, I don't know, 3 years, 5 years, whenever I got started being involved in the financial modeling cases, the the Excel esports cases. When I first when I first saw these cases, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so good at automating stuff. I'm going to be able to create this tool that I can just beat everybody with, right?
Which you're very close.
um, and so I originally OA Robot was called OA Hotkeys, and it was this launcher so that I could launch macros and formulas through an interface and do it like super duper fast. Um, uh, it and it very much was addicting. Like it was actually intended to teach me to learn the regular uh, Excel shortcuts, like through the menu and that kind of stuff. Um, and my brain, I just can't remember weird combinations of letters. My brain just doesn't work like that. But I can remember the letters if they totally correspond to the words that are in my head. Like auto fit column width is AFCW. That makes sense to me. So I started using this, and the more I used it, I basically got addicted to it. It's like I wanted to run everything through a robot because it's just this interface that you can totally get addicted to. And so I just kept adding more and more commands, and we started using it internally, and then we started giving it to our clients, and um, it it just really became apparent that like this was the kind of the future of our company. And now, for the last 3 years, it's been in production at client site at our enterprise clients. And it's taken a long time to get it out to the public for two main reasons. One is because we wanted to make it cheap, and two is because it's very powerful, and there's a lot to learn, and we needed a lot of documentation and to make sure that it was fairly solid, so we didn't have a lot of support um, issues coming up. So we started our beta last November, had about 100 people in beta, and a lot of people are just like super into it and creating videos on their own. And you know it's very exciting to see people excited about it, because I definitely did not I did not start this at the beginning thinking like I'm going to design a product where I can get rich. This was
Yeah.
not designed to like for the to with a smart business plan in mind. Was not like, it was definitely works for our clientele, but making it a public thing really came about because I showed it early on to some very prominent Excel folks. And when people like, Bill Jelen tell you, oh, you need to make this into a product, you're like, oh, okay.
I guess I'm
So
on. Yeah.
it's like so that's kind of how it happened, and I'm very happy that it's getting into people's hands. So that's kind of like the origin story of OA Robot.
Yeah, which is so cool that you were able to find like a passion project that was originally a tool, like an accessibility and like speed tool for you, and like a hyperfixation interest that turned into a good idea that other people thought was a good idea that you just kind of followed through to the past. So it's exciting now that I just want to be and let everyone know that I am the first card carrying member of the pro
You
users.
are, you are.
So
That's right.
I'm gonna wear that as a badge of honor for forever. So a little context for Office Hours of the Amber regular listeners. So usually week 1 is where I will learn the basic principles of a tool or like a new functionality. Week 2, I'll apply it to whatever I'm working on at work or like a real life business problem. Week 3, I will get feedback from a professional, and week 4 is a community call. This month is a little different because we're bringing in the expert at the very beginning to teach me properly from the get-go, because it's not like I can Google or ChatGPT like, how does OA Robot work? Because it's new. So this month, basically, I will be getting the OA Robot 101 with Eric today, and he's going to kind of tell me to do things, and I'm going to tiki in the computer, and we're going to start doing stuff that way. The week 2 is when we're going into Lambda robot. I don't remember what I sent you.
Yes,
Next
yes,
week is like the 201, diving deeper. And then week 3 is when I'm going to be applying it and getting kind of more reps in and getting it into my natural cadence and rhythm of work. Then week 4 will be
yes.
community call because I love chit chatting with everyone. But how exciting. And so now, I mean, it launched today, technically, correct?
The website went up this morning. Yes.
Fantastic.
So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. Are we stoked? How are
Um,
we feeling?
and last week on Thursday, I competed in the thing, and I came in fifth in the world in the Masters class.
Hey, somebody needs to know that. That's
Yeah,
still
in the
baller.
Masters class.
Hey, but that's
So
also
I was
still a testament because masters, what's
yes,
the age range for masters? Is it 50,
50 plus.
50 plus, which I
Yeah,
mean, there are 50-year-olds love you mom shout out, but sometimes don't know how to use the do not disturb function on her phone. Whereas you're kicking the world's ass and becoming fifth in the world. So all I'm saying is that is
yeah,
a true testament because living through the inception of VBA all the way to this moment and staying hip, current, and on top of it and creating add-ins is like a huge accomplishment. So like, first of all,
yeah.
take some credit,
Well,
masters or otherwise, still very cool.
I'll tell you a little bit about what I've learned about these competitions. Um, First of all, I would be nowhere near fifth in the world in the Masters class. Um, Without OA Robot. Like it really makes me way faster, even though it doesn't get me to the level of some of the top contenders. And what I figured out is that in order to really be good at these competitions, number one, you have to be able to read, which
Oh,
apparently I'm unable to read under pressure
it's so
because
hard.
I read the instructions and then I'm super slow at reading. I'm like, what am I even reading? I don't even understand. And then I scroll down and then I've completely forgotten what I've read and I have to scroll back and up, scroll back up and trying to figure it out. I read these instructions and it's like they're under pressure. It's like gibberish to me when the
100%.
clock is ticking. And I swear the time goes by so fast. I feel like I'm going lightning speed. And then I look up and I have like 5 minutes left. I'm only, on level 3 or something like that. I'm like, how do these people do it? I don't even understand.
Yeah.
So the key to actually being in that top tier is really all about being able to be cool under pressure, practice, 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 which I'm very, very busy with work and clients and stuff like that. So I don't practice hardly at all in terms of timed sessions. So this will, so that it's, I'm really interested to see like what people are able to do with this tool that really embrace it and take it to its like full potential.
Absolutely.
Um, so one of the things that I want to explain both for for you and for like the for this session and for next session is there's two types of users of OA Robot. There's users that just want to run commands, we call them robot commands, just want to run robot commands that other people have created. And then there's people who want to create their own robot commands. And we're going to be focusing on what is a robot command and what different types of robot commands are there and how do you run them. And I'm not going to really cover creating your own in our sessions because I just want you to feel like okay, I can run robot commands and I know how to like find some robot commands that are going to be useful to me. So this first one, I'm just going to be talking about robot commands in general. And then in the next section, we'll be using one of the command collections, which is called Lambda Robot. And Lambda Robot has a lot of really cool robot commands that help you generate lambdas and do really cool things with generate let statements and audit lambdas and let statements. So that's one that's worth going a little bit more in depth with because over the last 9 months or so of people doing testing, that by far is the most popular command collection that we have, especially for people who are doing esports and stuff like that. So that'll be next week.
Very cool. All right. Well, without further ado, you're ready to jump into some Excel?
Sure.
Okay, let's do
For
it.
those people who have never seen OA Robot before, get to see it for the first time, I guess.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
okay, I've
so
got
let's
my
see here.
OBS
How do
set up.
I share?
Oh, are we
Oh,
having you share your screen?
yeah, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, perfect. I am gonna unshare my screen, and then
I do
once you
share.
got yours shared, I'm gonna make you full screen on mine.
Okay. All right. Can you see that?
Almost. I'm trying to hide your face so I can, because I've got, oops. One sec. I have made some mistakes. My screen on OBS is looking a little crazy, so let me,
My sheet just showed up in the.
there we go. Okay. I'm
Okay.
making you bigger and then I'm ready. Okay, fantastic. I'm just glad my
Oh wait,
computer has
that's
not,
my
no,
face. Uh,
yes. I've got you, it's, let me make you a bit bigger. Beep. Whoops. Okay, I think we should be good.
all right. Hopefully that's.
I've got you next to your next to the
That'll work.
yes.
I would, yeah, just go ahead and make it as big as possible. It's okay if you're overlapping. I'll avoid that corner.
Okay, I'll actually move myself to the other corner so you can
Oh,
see
yeah,
all of
that'll
Excel.
work.
Yeah, I think that works. Cool. Okay, let's do it.
All right, fantastic. All right, so I'm starting with a blank sheet here because I think that's just the simplest way to start. The first thing to note is I'll put up my, I always hide my toolbar because I never use the toolbar anymore because I have OA Robot. Um, So when you install OA Robot, you're going to get a OA Robot menu item over here. If you point at it, it says launch OA Robot Control Shift O. Control Shift O is the secret keystroke for bringing up the robot. If you, when I do that, you will get this little dialogue will pop up. It can be moved around, but it's not that really that kind of dialogue. It really interacts with whatever you have selected, kind of like a right-click menu almost, because OA Robot's very context sensitive. It's operating on the selection or the cell or whatever. Um, and when we look at that, what we'll see is this big, huge, long list of commands in here. Actually, yours might not have as many as I do because I am an insane maniac about creating robot commands. Um, so I have over 1,000 commands in mine that do all kinds of crazy stuff. So the little icons on the left are what type of command it is. So remember I said there's all these different types of things you can do in Excel that we call micro automations. Some might be formulas, some might be VBA macros, some might be M code for power queries, some might be send keys for triggering things off of the menu that you want to trigger. Um, you can do Python code for in a PY that you would use in a PY function in Excel. And we even include things that are I consider to be micro automations that are actually not part of Excel, like AI chat. So we use ChatGPT and we attach to the API. So even a GPT prompt can be considered a micro automation. And so it has the ability to do that as well. Uh, um, and there's a whole bunch of things you could do with our enterprise version that we're able to use that we use for our clients. So the first thing that uh, okay, and then these little buttons on the left are all key characters or symbols that are on your keyboard. So you don't have to reach for your mouse. This thing is really designed to be as efficient as possible without touching the mouse. So instead of clicking on the plus, you can see it actually types the plus when I click on it. I can just type the plus in the keyboard. So plus is for adding stuff. Um, the at list is all of the command collections that I have available, and so forth. So I'm not going to go into all of that, but I'm going to show you a super simple formula command that I have here. First let me show you the typing. The typing, we call it hyper search. So when you type in this box, it's basically um, filtering this list of all of your robot commands. So if I type AFCW, see how it's finding auto fit column width just by me typing those few characters. And in fact, I don't even have to type that many characters. It actually finds it just by typing AF. So it starts to get very smart. It learns what characters you type in, and then it makes it faster to find those things in the future. There's also things that you can do uh, to encourage it to find things easier. We call these launch codes. And then you can also assign keyboard shortcuts to things, just like you can in VBA macros, how you can do that. So you can have keyboard shortcuts that trigger formulas or trigger power queries or trigger, whatever. So if you are trying to be super fast, you can actually avoid even doing the Control Shift O to bring this up by just assigning your favorite commands a keystroke.
I will say to
I'm
quickly,
horrible at remembering keystrokes, so I use this mostly.
the Control T, like the auto, like the hotkey or the shortcut for that, incredibly
Hmm.
helpful because you've made
I'll show
the
that.
table creation just automatically smarter. like like you said before, when you do Control T, normally it would pull up like, does your table have headers? It's like, yeah, no shit that it has headers. Instead,
Yeah.
how about you ask me what I want to name it, which is a much more intelligent reason. But that's my
Yep.
favorite so far.
So when I do Control T, I get this. It says, what do you want to name your table? It guesses that you want to name it whatever the sheet name is because half the time that's what you want to call it. I'm going to call it instrument instead. And
Yep.
then it doesn't bother asking you, um, yeah, whether you want headers or not, because we always want headers.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine
Um,
any universe where we have unheaded data that you
yes.
would, because the whole secondary reason of using like a structured table reference is to use the headers in your formulas. So it's like silly,
Yeah.
but
So that one that I just ran, if I bring up robot again, you'll see that it's up at the top because the top has your recent commands that you've run. And so that has Control T assigned to it. And if I were to look at the definition of that, I can edit it and see the definition. I can see that that's just running create table with headers, which is a VBA macro that is inside of my MEWC robot. So this is the command collection. That's just an Excel file that has a bunch of definitions of robot commands in it. This particular robot command happens to be a VBA macro command, but you could have all kinds of different types of commands, which I'll show you some of those.
So a
Um,
quick silly side question is I've noticed that you can run VBA commands, but it doesn't make my Excel sheet end up being an XLSM when I save it.
that's right.
Could you
It's
do
not
like the
putting the macro into the, like when you do something with a Lambda, that Lambda has to be kind of like installed into your active workbook. With VBA, you can run VBA that's in another workbook. As long as you write the
mm,
VBA generically, you can apply that VBA to your active workbook, even though the macro's in another workbook. Um, uh, and
interesting?
and the other thing about OA Robot is you could have 20 different files with Excel macros in them. You don't have to have any of them open or remember where they are or what the macros are called. You just type in a couple letters and then it will say, oh, you want to do that create table thing. I know that that is in the MEWC robot file. It opens that up behind the scenes and then runs that particular macro for you automatically. So you don't even have to like think about like where it is because I've been writing VBA for literally like 30 years since 1995, and so many times I would write cool macros and I'd know that I'd have them somewhere, and I would never go back and run those same macros if I wanted to do something because there's too much friction in going and finding where that is. So, and then you're not even sure like what's it called, like what do I have to have selected? So that's why we call robot commands. We call them curated micro automations. So a micro automation is just that little macro, right? A curated micro automation is one that now we've like given it some extra metadata to say here's the friendly name for it and a friendly description. So when I brought up that command, you can see it says create table with headers. That's the name of the robot command. Has a nice description underneath that says create table from current region with headers. So I didn't even actually have to select it, although current region would probably pick up more than I wanted. Um, and I don't have to remember where it's located or anything like that. So so that is the idea there.
The cool
So if we
thing
jump back,
as you're talking, I'm like having ideas because I learned a very key thing about VBA just now is that the VBA does not have to live in the sheet that you're running it on. Like it can live in a different workbook that you're now applying whatever logic, reasoning, math, science to a
that's
different one.
right.
Because my problem with VBA in the past, my ignorant idea was that if I don't like I thought I would have had to commit to that file being XLSM and then breaking and shattering to the ground eventually. But instead, it's like I could have had this whole time just a backlog of all of my favorite things in an Excel file that I just opened. But that's okay. That's why we're here to learn. And I'm now thinking through, like, as I'm thinking, I'm like writing down my like hopeful good ideas, like a data
Mm-hmm.
memorializer, like something to copy paste data and shoot it off to somewhere else is like VBA 101 that I think
Yeah.
we'll get there. But, anyways, you keep
The
going. I'm going to write
other
down my good
the
ideas.
the other thing that's really important to realize is that the micro part of micro automations is super important. And that is because you um, you can make a macro that is so short and so simple that you would never normally make a
True.
what's my computer doing?
Hey, I'm passing the torch of computer problems off to you.
Um, you would never make a video I mean a video, you would never make a macro to do something that was really, really simple and small, because by the time you went and even if you knew exactly where that macro was, or you had it open in your personal macro workbook or whatever, um, by the time you went and found it and chose it and run it, you could have gone and done it in Excel on the ribbon, or done it
Absolutely.
some other way. So because OA Robot is so streamlined in how you can trigger these things to go, you can create you can create robot commands for things that you would never write a macro for
For sure.
normally. And that's really a key part of micro automations. And if you think about it, that's what Excel is. Like making something bold is the smallest, tiniest little thing. And in Excel, you can do Control B, or you can click on the on the ribbon or whatever. Um, all right, so I'm going to do a quick example here. I'm going to run um, a formula command. So you can take any formula and turn it into a robot command. So I do a lot of kind of demos and fooling around with data. And so I'm always typing in equals sequence 10 comma 5, because that's what I like to start playing with. So I have one that it knows me well enough to know that if I type an S, I probably want to create a sequence 10 comma 5. So I just typed S and hit enter. That's the only thing I had to do. And now I have a sequence 10 comma 5. If I wanted to, let's say, transpose that, I could bring up robot and type a T. And that is for transposing array, because transposing array is something that I do all of the time. Now, if you look at the formula bar, look what we have. It took our original equals sequence 10 comma 5 and it wrapped it in a transpose. So those were both formula commands. And the first one was just a formula by itself. The second one was a formula that wrapped the formula that was already in the cell. So, and that's a very popular, way of creating a micro automation. That particular command was based on a built-in function transpose, but you could also have it be something that is a lambda. And remember, I just opened this workbook. So if we go into the name manager, we got nothing. It's empty in here. So if I wanted to get rid of these 4 columns in the middle, I know I can do RC for remove columns of array.
Oh,
And
wow.
boom, I just removed 4 columns out of the middle of my array. How did it do that? It knew that we had a command, a robot command, that was designed to run this remove calls. And it actually took my selection as an input. I had those columns, those 4 columns, the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh column. So it put that in there, and then it wrapped the existing formula. So this was the existing formula. It wrapped it with that lambda, and it installed that lambda on demand. So the really cool thing is that if you take your favorite lambdas and you turn them into robot commands, then when you are doing work in a client workbook, it surgically just installs the commands that you use that you need to actually apply. So you're not importing your like 50, 50 lambdas that you have collected over time into your client workbook. They don't need to see all of that. You just want to give them what they need, right? So it very, very surgically does that. I didn't have to think what workbook was that in. How do you copy a lambda from one workbook to another? You don't have to think about any of that. You just run the command and it does it, right? And you can get pretty sophisticated if you start creating, lambdas. I can do things like what's a good one? Combine columns. So I'm going to combine columns. I selected column C and D, and I'm going to do this, and we'll make it pipe delimited. So I just took two columns in the middle of my spilled array and made them pipe delimited. I'll do the same thing over here.
I didn't know
You
that
can
was
hit,
what that's called. I use it all the
uh,
time, but that's such a much cuter name for that. Okay, keep going.
you
Sorry.
can also, you can also, um, uh, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. I'm like this,
Um,
like I'm looking back at all of
oh,
the project I just did, and I'm just it's just, I know now, but now I'm like looking back, I'm like, it would have been real nice to have these nice functions because I've got so many like choose calls, but like real funk ass hieroglyphics. So this is just, it was real nice. Okay, what were you gonna say?
I tend to use this way more than any reasonable person would probably use it, but but you can see that it's building a formula here for us, right?
Oh,
It
that's
keeps wrapping
awesome.
our formula and building this formula. So if I wanted to make this into one column, I could do one C or two call, and it's going to reshape that all into one column. If I wanted to wrap that to two columns, I could type in a two, and now I have it wrapped to two columns. If I wanted to take this column here and ungroup it, I could ungroup it by a delimiter, give it that pipe, and now we've just unraveled that into, this shape here. Then maybe I want to add an index column. We'll append index column because sometimes you want things to, have an index column. You can basically like whatever it is that you do a lot in your job, you can turn that all into lambdas and robot commands and formulas that do all of that stuff.
Wow.
So you can see the formula that it ended up with. It's a pretty big, monstrous formula, but we could format that formula using FF, which is format formulas, and now
Wow.
it just gave it a little bit more structure, made it pretty.
The
And then there's a bunch of stuff that you can do, like uh, you can also go backwards. So you can do Control Shift Z is a command called remove outer function, and that will actually take it backwards to I think.
wow.
Yeah, see, it's going backwards now um, to where we were before.
And when I was working at Anheuser-Busch, we were doing forecasting. It was 12 weeks at a time and 3,600 items. And like, that's when I got in the mode of knowing like my control, like the alt tab, control tab, shift tab, like all of like the little hotkeys. And like every second my hand was not on the mouse, like, or like every second that my hand was not on the keyboard, it piles up so fast. So like, I think for someone who's more of like a mouse clicker of the Excel world, might not be as and well. Actually, they have the most to win here, but like every second going to and from, it piles up so fast. So like
Yeah.
once it's in the muscle memory, I mean, you save yourself hundreds of hours. So that's insane.
So I actually do have it set up so that you can write. My mouse has like a little button on the side of it,
Ooh,
and if you do have your hand on the mouse, you can also trigger it to come up with your hand on the mouse. Because a lot of times you do
fantastic.
want your if you do have your hand on the mouse already, you don't want to have to like move your
Fumble
hand
around.
over, do Control Shift O, and go back. Uh, so that's another bit of a trick.
That's awesome.
Um, so um, in addition to, so most of everything that I just showed you, those were all formula commands. So whether they were lambdas or just regular formulas, some had parameters, input parameters, where it asks the user questions like, how many columns did you want to wrap that to? Two, those questions that it asked you, I defined as a user of as a creator of that command I created. That's not like part of OA Robot. That's something that was created by a user. Me as a user of OA Robot created that command. So we're making a lot of command collections available. So it's super easy to install command collections. There's something called a setup code that you can type in, and it'll automatically fill your um, fill your robot with more commands, kind of like Neo in the Matrix when he's like, getting loaded with kung fu loaders or whatever. So the so we have collections of commands that we give out the codes to that so that you can load those into your robot, and then other people that create their own commands can simply share the workbook with you. If you create a command, you can share that workbook with your friend, and then as long as they register that workbook with their robot, then they'll have your commands. So
Wow.
they're very easily shareable. And Jack Kennedy has done a great job. She came up with CompBot, which a lot of people are using now for the competitions. She has a great collection of robot commands and lambdas, and she's curated them beautifully and created videos about it and stuff like that. And that's not us that's been involved in that. She did that all on her own, and then she takes that and she shares it with other people, and then they have all of those commands. So that's like a big part of this um, uh, is creating cool stuff and sharing it with others. Um, so if I wanted to uh, say report title up here, and I'll put a header over here.
We've got Gabriel Sotero in the chat saying, OMG, is Compa available? How can he get
Yes, it
access?
is. It's not mine. You got to go ask Jack. I'm sure she'll share it with you.
She's hip in the WhatsApps.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show you uh, um, so if I wanted to format these numbers here as accounting with two decimal places, I could bring it up and type A2. That gives me accounting
Mm.
two decimal places. I don't have to reach for I don't have to reach for my mouse. If I wanted to come over here and do this divided by 50. Now I have a cell that's up here, and if I wanted to copy that down, what would I have to do to copy this cell down? Because this is a
An
spilled
array.
array,
Yeah.
right? But it's only pointing at one column in our spilled array. It's kind of a pain, right?
Yeah.
To make this spill down.
Yeah. Because
All
you'd
I
have to
do is
like,
Control D and watch what happens.
wow.
So it just wrote that formula for me using the robot command autofill down, which is part of Formula Robot, which we give away for free. And if I did something uh, even crazier, like let's say, what's a good example? Let me do a let me split this by delimiter, no, by specified value. Split text across by specified value. We'll do pipe. So I just split that, right? Now this is two columns wide. What happens if I do if I wanted to copy that down,
Mm.
that's a little bit different because it's like 2 columns wide, right? If I do a copy down on that, it actually figured out that it needed to use my tile function, and it stacked all of those together as one dynamic array. And
Interesting.
it'll even handle staggered arrays. So you can do sequence of this column here, comma 1. So, oops, let's transpose that. And now let's see what happens if I do Control D on that to copy that down. Boom.
Whoa.
It just stacked the staggered arrays going across. So you can see that what we got. Now, if we wanted to turn those NAs to zeros, or let's do blanks. If NA, then blank, now
Oh
we
my
have blanks.
gosh. That's so
So,
fast. I just want to take a moment
so
for that because the amount of time I spend wrapping if errors, wrapping if NAs, like, and also I should use if NAs more than if error because if error wipes everything. But anyways, the fact it just tick 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 done, like the number of it's like, and I know that I've taken it. This more of like the frustration I'm feeling is with myself in the past, but now it's like all this beautiful future ahead of me. But like that was so quick. Okay, keep going.
yeah. So, so I was going to show this because I do this a lot where I format um, OA title. So that does my usual things that I like to do when I'm in an Excel spreadsheet, like turn off the grid lines. I always like my column A to be two units wide. I bold it, make it the right font size, and that kind of stuff. And then I have a specific group header, um, OA header, section header that I like to use in order to make things look nice. If I have inputs, then I like to format those as an input,
Oh
which I
my
have a certain
gosh.
style that I like to use. So basically, like all of the things that you do on a regular basis that are repetitive, they can all be like imminently queued up to run with just like literally like 1 or 2 characters. Like I typed I in order to get input style. I typed A2 to get accounting 2 decimal places. I typed T or OAT to get my OA title block. Um, you don't have to, and like if I wanted to auto fit all of this, I could take all of this and I could do AF for auto fit column width. Boom. Now
Wow.
it's auto fit.
And
So
this is humongous for 700 reasons. One, I was trying to mess around. So with your report title and header and all that, what seems like a small step for man is a large step for man and Excel user kind because if you go to the home button and there's usually that section that has like styles and stuff, and there are always those preset styles that are ugly and horrible and never really fitting, and they always had like I tried to make my own style, but it only saved in that one workbook. And so as I'm like building out more templated tools for my consulting stuff, it's going to be really nice to be like, nope, I don't even need to preset build nothing. I could just Control Shift O or like whichever like hotkey we attach to it.
yeah,
Fantastic. And then especially being able to, like, for instance, I mean, the fast standard robot, like I think they're like, I don't much subscribe to a lot of the Excel standards or financial modeling standards workbooks, but for those, there could be fast standard robot where it can audit how well you're adhering to all of the, fast standards. And two is have the preset things for like, here's my inputs here, like exactly what you just said.
yeah,
And additionally, on top of all of that, so I got some feedback at work this last week where someone will be like, I just want to do this one small thing. And I'll be like, okay, I'll say, and I'll speak to them in hieroglyphics, control shift left, control right, like how to get, like, cause it's the quickest way to communicate that, or
Yes.
like where to go and what to be doing. And they're like infinitely confused and their fingers start twisting up on each other. But
Yeah.
being able to like speak in English to it and teach others how to do the basics of Excel, like the little minute
So
things, is
what
huge.
we do for our clients is we create custom command collections that just have the robot commands that our clients really care about, right? They don't want 1,000 robot commands. They want the commands that launch their reports or open their files or do the stuff that's most important to them that they want robot commands for. And so it's a custom command collection just for our clients, and that's kind of what you're saying is they have no clue. Most of our clients have no clue how to create a robot command themselves. They don't want to create a robot command. If you are the Excel guru in your office and you have all these people that can barely write a formula, you can be, rather than them asking you to do everything and you have to do all of the work, because that's what happens if you're actually good at Excel,
That's
is that
exactly
you just
it.
end up doing everything because they're like, oh, well, Amber can do it so much faster. We'll just give it to her. You can basically turn it into a robot command and say, no, you can do it just as fast as me now because look, all I do is just run this command.
Yeah.
So here's the command. You open up robot and you type these three letters and hit enter, and then it's
Voila.
done
Yeah.
because that's all I was going to do. So now you can do it yourself and you don't have to ask me.
That's exactly it.
So you
That's
basically
so
just
cool.
tool up everybody around you with robot commands. And that's like the really exciting thing about this is because in a client situation, they'll pay you. They'll get so excited once you have a handful of robot commands that you kind of give to them and they get the idea. It's like, whoa, I can just pull this up and ask it to do XYZ. And it's like, boom, boom, boom. And it does it. Then what happens is their brain starts to go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Could you create a robot command to do this? Could you create a robot command to do that? And you're like, absolutely. Meanwhile, Amber's over here asking ChatGPT, please write VBA macro to, color all of the cells that are even in purple.
Yep.
And it gives you a little chunk of VBA code. You swap that in, turn it into a robot command, and then send them a bill.
Exactly. Which is, and they're stoked. I'm stoked. We're stoked. Everyone
Everybody's
hold.
stoked.
Yeah. Which is so cool. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
we have 3 minutes left. So if there's one more cool thing, I mean, like
You know,
the funny thing is I've seen your intro demo 3 times and still this is new and shocks me every single time. And I think I'm excited for not only next week, but the third week, which how I learned Excel was going through each individual button. And because that's my kind of
oh,
a good,
so
oh,
yeah.
go for
So
it.
let me show you the one thing that's perfect for what you're saying, which
Perfect.
is which is how do you know what commands you have available?
Mm.
And how do you do what you're just saying? I do the same thing. If I get like some new program, I'm like, just let me read the manual from beginning to end, or at least skim through it. So I at least have a sense of like what it can do. So it was so important to us to be able to make sure that people could figure out what's available. So when you type at, these are the command collections that I have. You'll have way fewer, but I showed you stuff in Array Robot Volume 1, in Format Robot, in Formula Robot, and Lambda Robot. So if I go to any one of these, and I can either right click and do help, or you can just hit F1 on your keyboard. And what it does is it scans the definitions of your robot commands and it generates a help document on the fly explaining to you everything that is in that particular command collection. This will work on your own command collections that you create for yourself, on ones that other people give you, like CompBot or whatever. And this is a particularly large one, so it took a while. But it just generated this on the fly. it scanned that file and recognized that I have 112 robot commands defined, and they're nicely organized, so I can see
Ah,
all of them. Here's that if there was an if NA then blank that's in here somewhere. Um, so this would be a great way for you to go through and say what's really in here. Ooh, reverse columns. Let me go over here and try that out. Reverse columns. Uh, Flip horizontally. Boom. It just it just flipped the columns over.
that's wild.
Here's running total by column. So I don't think that it's a good idea to do a running total on something that has, but let me do it over here. Um, Running total by column. That did not work.
That's okay.
I think those were, I think those were text.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
oh, they were text. So let me turn them into values. Now they're values. Now I can do this one again. Boom, running
Wow.
totals by column. So, but the key there is this is where you can go and scan down and figure out what all is available in a command collection. And if you wanted to try to understand how is it doing average of array by column, you can click on that and it'll actually show you the definition of the command, how like what the formula is behind the scenes that it's using to do that.
Wow.
Or it'll show you the macros if they're based on macros. You can see the actual code of the macro and stuff like that.
The nice thing is, I know the funny thing about the time it takes to go in and make documentation often gets looked over. So the nice thing is you
I'm
have at least
horrible.
one person who is going to be very much sifting through it. So how exciting! That's such a nice, easy 10
Yeah.
out of 10.
Yay.
No, that's so cool. Okay, we're at 8, and so for next week we're going to be diving even deeper, which I feel like every time we leave a conversation, I'm already just dazzled and mentally
So
backwards.
next week we're going to focus on Lambda robots,
Yes.
and very specifically because you just last month did lambdas and you just recently did lets. When you see how easy it is to create lambdas using Lambda Robot, you'll be doing it like even more than you're doing it now. It's like makes creating lambdas so easy and so fun, and they're auditable and all this stuff. So that'll be next week.
Woo. Okay. Well, perfect. We will see you next week. And if anyone wants to hang out in the, I'll be heading over to the Discord to which also Eric has a subsection of the Discord and the WhatsApp for the Roboteers. So anyone who's interested in OA Robot, obviously the website's live. Where can they go to find out more information?
oarobot.com, and we're still doing a waiting list to get oriented. As soon as we've caught up, we have like hundreds of people on our waiting list. So once we have everybody like caught up, and we then you'll just be able to download it and on your own. But right now we're kind of onboarding people in small groups. So
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm going to head over to the Discord, but thank you so much, Eric. And I will see everyone later. I'm going to press the stop streaming button and it will end when it ends.